Hello everyone, I'm Lydia Ruth. Welcome to the Manse. And before we get started, if you're new here or if you're old, please click the link in the description box on the channel and go to the place where I have embedded this video so that you can see the pictures that go with it and the books and the things and the lists of things that I have spoken of. And before we get started, I hope that you're going to pay attention to your appearance today at home. And why is that? Well, I was discussing this with a couple of friends on how they feel that it's so ugly out there and the culture is so ugly and there's nothing pretty. This will raise the level of, this will raise the standard for your family at least, and for your friends and for those who see you dressing to, even if you're home, it will raise the standard. And you can't wait for the culture to change. You're going to have to be the trendsetter. You're going to have to be the culture changer. And so the point that I'm trying to make is don't wait for things to change and quit saying I was born in the wrong era. I wish I was born, you know, in the previous era or the Regency era or the Bible times or the Victorian era. No, you don't have to do that. You can close the gap between now and all those eras by dressing and behaving with the propriety that you feel that era represented. And of course, there was good and bad in all of these cultures, and you just pull out the best and imitate that. I'm going to have a few things to talk about today, but first I want to go to so many comments about the bows in my hair. I get them at the Hobby Lobby. They're already made, but there's only one that I have to watch carefully that I don't pick something up without looking at the attachment on the back. I don't care for these. These are those ones you click with your finger and they open up, but they're made of metal and they tend to tear up my hair. But I can always just you know, just wear them for a temporary amount of time, and I just get what I like. They're always under $5. And here's another one that I bought there that, and I have a granddaughter. I have a basket full of these for her when she comes. Almost have, my ambition is to have all clothes for her when she comes here, and bows and different things, and then I get books out. I set it all out. So this is another one from the Hobby Lobby. Now this is my favorite clasp in the back, this kind here. See there? That's like the old-fashioned clips that the hairdressers used to use when they were making the little pin curls. This is the most comfortable. And so go to Hobby Lobby and look at some of these things. There's a real pretty style out right now, and I've seen them on some of the royal young ladies, the royal children of the royal family. And it's a bow with a long tail on it that I've always loved. Just looks like you tied your hair up in a ribbon and let the tail down. And so ladies, I hope you enjoyed that. Let's get on with it. Today I have a few things that I want to discuss. See where I wrote it all down. I'm going to read poetry first, because that kind of sets a rhythm in your brain, and mine too. So I read quite a few yesterday about last time about courage. So I want to read this one by Edgar Guest called Old Age. We don't like those words, do we? I think that should be called vitality. Old age. I used to think, oh, my teacup, kids, my teacup. What do you think? I found this at the Goodwill a few years ago. The Goodwill and the other thrift stores have been well picked over. I don't go in there anymore because it's all kind of graduated to the more modern things. But we got the best of it, didn't we, back in the day? And this is one of those Royal Alberts. I don't know if it had a name. It was just Royal Albert on the back. Now some of these had names, but like it would be called Blue Rose or something like that. But some of them, the Royal Alberts, did not have names. They were just made one of a kind or just a separate line that didn't belong to a set. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed that too. And I hope that in your present circumstances, you are trying to improve it as best you can. There's none of us going to get out of here alive. You might as well have a good time. Might as well enjoy your home and enjoy making it a lovely place. And quit focusing on the circumstances outside world type of things. Quit focusing on that, because you'll only come to the conclusion that that life on earth is awful. That's not how we're supposed to be thinking. We're supposed to be so grateful and rejoice. Scripture says rejoice, and again I say rejoice. Always rejoice. Rejoice always. And we're supposed to be rejoicing, not sitting around telling ourselves how awful everything is. If you quit listening to it, you could turn it into wonderfulness. And I always say that some of this news you get that is rather disturbing, even if it's just news of your friends and family that have done some unexpected things or going through something, you can always use it as fuel for your own creativity and your own improvement. Make a list of ways that you'd like to improve. And one of the things that I liked about, I don't know if you can still get them, but the Fascinating Girl, not Fascinating Womanhood, Fascinating Girl workbook was great for young ladies, because it had a place where you had to list the things you wanted to improve in yourself. You know, like maybe you want to, or skills you wanted to develop. Maybe you wanted to learn to do something. And you could list all these, and then at the end of the course or the end of the year, go back and look and see how you had progressed, see if you had done any of those things. And I've always been fascinated with that kind of self-motivation and improvement, and I love to make lists of things that I want to do better or things that I would like to do. And I want to be curious about everything, but I also want to be very discerning and make sure that they are things that enhance the Titus 2 role of being a keeper at home. So today I'm going to read you a poem by Edgar Guest, and it's called, goodness, I lost it. I'll have to find it again. I must have got to talking to you and just moved the page. I think I'll have to look it up. It was called Old Age, wasn't it? Yes. So if you've got something you need to do, you can go do it. Okay. Old age. I used to think that growing old was reckoned just in years. But who can name the very date when weariness appears? I have to pause there, because I'll have to tell you that in my 20s and 30s, I had more aches and pains and health problems than I do now. Sometimes you can actually outgrow some of these things, but I have become more educated from learning more about physical therapy and nutrition and happiness and gratefulness and things that help improve you. And so I used to think that growing old was reckoned just in years. But who can name the very date when weariness appears? I find no stated time when man, obedient to a law, must settle in an easy chair and from the world withdraw. Old age is rather curious, or so it seems to me. I know old men at 40 and young men at 73. I've read this to you before. I'm done with counting life by years or temples turning gray. No man is old who wakes with joy to greet another day. What if the body cannot dance with youth's elastic spring? I did check into that on to get free lessons in dancing by yourself for health. And actually, it takes a while to limber your body back up, but you probably can get back to when you were really young just by practice. There's many a vibrant interest to which the mind can cling. 'Tis in the spirit age must dwell, or this would never be. I know old men at 40 and young men at 73. Some men keep all their friendships warm and welcome friendships new. They have no time to sit and mourn the things they used to do. This changing world they greet with joy and never bow to fate. On every fresh adventure they set out with hearts elate. From chilling fear and bitter dread they keep their spirits free. While some seem old at 40, they stay young at 73. So much to do, so much to learn, so much in which to share. Oh yes, remember Emma? What is the use of being almost 21 when there's so much to learn? I feel that way sometimes when I make a colossal mistake, lose something, or don't do something right. My goodness, you would think by this time I would know better. With twinkling eyes and minds alert, some brave both time and care. And this I've learned from other men, that only they are old who think with something that has passed the tale of life is told. For age is not alone of time, or we would never see men old and bent at 40 and men young at 73. Isn't that the truth? You see teenagers walking around acting like they're about ready to fall over because of their health, and a lot of times it's their attitude, and that health creates your attitude, and your attitude can affect your health. Isn't that interesting how they both work together? It's hard to know which one to begin with, isn't it? Now, because I'm talking about health, and I hope you're getting ready, I hope you're getting dressed for this colossally beautiful day. Let's see here. And this is called, I mentioned last time to you how many people are getting the cramping in their legs. And I read that your age begins to affect you in your legs. You lose your legs first, and how important it is to keep your legs healthy, and that's why they're recommending walking and types of exercises to do. It's so important. And so I looked up, I didn't want to get into allopathic muscle relaxers or pain relievers, so I found from the Republic of Tea. Have you ever seen the Republic of Tea, the canisters that it comes in, and you can go to the grocery store and get these canisters they're little tins and they're narrow, and it's almost like walking into a Regency era shop to look at the Republic of Tea selection that some grocery stores have. It's quite delightful. So now we're going to talk about the leg cramps. This happens, I can remember being very young, maybe 6 years old when I first got one. They called them Charlie horses. So I think it's really important for everybody to prevent them. So let's see. This is the Republic of Tea, and it's going to recommend different types of herbs in some of their teas. Imagine yourself at the end of a long day. Perhaps you are just getting home from work and are finally able to set aside your worries and change into your most comfortable clothes and put your feet up while enjoying some relaxing music. Yet try as you like, it's difficult to convince your body to relax. All the tension, aches, and pains you brushed aside during the day to be put to rest. So what can you do? Whether you are holding on to tension from a hectic day or are dealing with long-term aches and pains, a simple cup of tea blend may be able to help you soothe muscle cramps. Below, we have gathered our recommendations for 5 of the top muscle relaxing tea options to give you some relief. I believe that Republic of Tea has a free catalog that comes in your mail, and it's very lovely colored illustrations. I just like to have it on the coffee table as a magazine because it's so pretty, but you can order from it. Turmeric tea. I'm sure if you have turmeric in your kitchen with all of your herbs and spices for cooking, you might be able to just sprinkle some in some hot water and just drink it. Have the same effect. Turmeric is a spice known for its vibrant yellow color. It comes from the root of the curcuma longa plant and has been used both as a culinary spice and medicinal dried herb for thousands of years. When steeped, as in a tea bag, turmeric has a warm, earthy aroma and spicy, sweet flavor. Research has suggested that curcumin, one of the main compounds found in turmeric, has antioxidative and anti-inflammatory properties that may abate symptoms of inflamed muscles and cramps. And it even mentions arthritis. In addition to diminishing your aches, turmeric is also thought to reduce anxiety, meaning this dried herb tea may deliver the perfect infusion of mental and physical relief. Well, I don't actually have the tea, but you know, I've got it in my food cabinet. Might be able to try it. Rooibos tea. Now, I've read you an article out of an old Tea Time magazine that showed a tea plantation in South Africa and a picture of the tea making process from this wonderful red bush tea. This herbal tea is produced from the leaves of a bush native to South Africa. Now, I told you what the history was, that there was the East India Tea Company, and it was owned, I believe, by the British, and they were having a quarrel with different parts of the world, and there was a war going on, and the South Africans could not get the black tea from India, so they created this red rooibos tea, and they even began to market it, and it competed well with the East India Tea Company. I think that's just so beautifully innovative and resourceful. It says it's rich with flavonoids and mentions 2 other things and antioxidants that are thought to be helpful in reducing muscle pain caused by inflammation and cramps. So when you're looking for a lull in your aches and pains, and also something that tastes good, a cup of this tea may be the balm you need. Then they list green tea, peppermint tea, and they go on to tell what all is available at Republic of Tea. Calming, muscle-soothing teas, and chamomile was one of them. So you might want to get online and go and look at Republic of Tea. They have beautiful canisters and presentation. Makes you feel so elegant. That's my only vice. It's all these different teas and coffees. And then, of course, there's fabric and teacups. But tea is something that is enjoyable, and you run out of it once in a while, so you have to go back and get it. So that's that. Now, let me see. I think I might have one more poem for you that I haven't read yet. So I have been talking about books that are beneficial to the home. And if you have young girls or if you're an elderly, vital person, these things are very good. So I'll start by, I mentioned Emily Barnes last time, so I'll do her stuff. And I got a new Emily Barnes book. Well, I got this from Thrift Books, $3.49. And a lot of it, and it's hardback, and these were marketed as gift books because they had a nice hardback. But this is called Home Warming. This would be delightful for your girls, or if you could go through the Emily Barnes books on Thrift Books, you could find all kinds and maybe get one for each girl that they could trade off. But what's wonderful about it is that Susan Rios painted the illustrations. I love Susan Rios, and I even took an art class online with her, and she illustrated almost all of Emily Barnes' books, and they collaborated on that. And you know, there's one of her paintings there, and let me see if I can find some more, and I'll read the table of contents and just show you some of the little whimsical paintings that she put in here. There's one here of the front porch. And so, I'll tell you what's in it, and you might be able to get yourself one. I don't care what age you are, if you're kind of lagging a little bit and you're in the middle of raising your children, you might need something like this, and you can sit down and read it to your little children. They would just love it. they might not understand it, but they love being read to, and it has beautiful pictures in it, beautiful pictures. So this chapters are how to make yourself at home. 7 secrets, simple secrets of a welcoming life to yourself. That's interesting. One is cozy first impressions. I like when I come in the door of my house, even if there's no one else here, I am very sensitive to the first impression. It's either going to make me feel that it's dull, or that it has a future and that I can do something in it, or it's going to cheer me up. And shared spaces, how to manage shared spaces. That would be like, several people in the same area, or rooms that are shared. How to make them more home warming, more welcoming. Company in the kitchen, the joy of cooking and sharing together. The rest, the rooms that you rest in, and household guests. I really wanted to show you this picture. That is so nice. So this is Home Warming by Emily Barnes, and anytime you get an Emily Barnes book, if you'll check that the secondary title will be with paintings by Susan Rios, and just lovely. I just love them. Okay, here's another good one for you. I've mentioned this before, but it's none of these are to be taken as, you won't like everything in them, but sometimes you can get enough out of them. Put a little bookmark in the part you like, and just, be discerning. You have to be discerning about everything you read, even the Bible. There are things in there you would not read aloud. They would not be appropriate maybe for a very young person, or an unbeliever, or even some believers that aren't mature. So you've got to be discerning about everything you read. You've got to have good judgment about it. So this book here, Cottage Core, I believe was the first Cottage Core book that was ever published, and it was written by someone in England, and so it has things in it that I don't quite understand, and there were a couple of things that I didn't think that you'd want to do, but you can pick it out, and she's divided it into seasons, things that you would do in summer, and things that you would do in the autumn, and at the beginning of each chapter. So summer, and the summer has different things to do, what to do with fresh flowers, when the petals come off, and different things like that. And it would be really nice if you're feeling like you need some kind of rejuvenation, to take a book like this and go through it in the appropriate season. Just turn to whatever season it is, put a piece of paper in there and write down what you did or what to do, and use it as your own little guide workbook, even a notebook of some kind. You could always make lessons to go with these things if you wanted to, give yourself a homeschool book and do it. I would suggest you do this. Just do something different every day. There's enough in here, I think, for you to do. And some of it you might think you don't want to, but it keeps your mind interested in it. Now, the other thing that you might like, I've had this for years and I've loved it, but it really shouldn't be named this because it's for everybody, and everyone needs to learn to do these things. It's called How to Draw, Paint, and Craft with Your Creative Grandkids. And it's a book of easy ideas and fun times together, but it tells how to draw. Now that to me does not look like little kid stuff. Anybody, any age could use this book and learn from it. And just at least if you're a young girl at home and you just think you want to leave and go out there and work in the city or something like that, why not instead take a book like this, get a little folder of some kind to collect your projects in, and do every project, and then put it in your hope chest, because there will be samples of things you will have to know. How many of you who are now vital wish that you had known how to draw something? You'll be sitting with one of the children on your lap with a little notebook, and they'll say, draw a house, draw a house, draw a dog, and then they're disappointed because it didn't look like a dog or it didn't look like a cat. So you can get this book and learn how to draw, learn how to make different things out of, scrap paper, and how to make cornstarch clay, and how to make um, unusual art, and there's even hand lettering here. To me, it's not a grandchild book. It's a great homeschool book if you can get a hold of it. And I'll see if I can find a link for you to get it, or you can just take note of it when I put the picture on the blog. If you're new here, please go to the blog to listen to this. It has hand lettering. It has posters and wall art, and how to decorate a saying. There's so many things, and if you learn how to do this when you're really young, then you won't have to be scrambling for knowing how to do something when you're older. There's all kinds of things that it teaches you how to make a magnet, how to make a decorative magnet, and different ways to do things. I would really recommend it. Then also I wanted to tell you about this book again called 501 Sensational Tips. And it used to have a yellow cover on it. You saw it in one of the previous videos. You can get this online. And it's by Terry Willits. I just loved her. She put a spiritual value in homemaking. It just made everything so beautiful. I hadn't thought about that. Some of us that grew up in the 40s and 50s, when we did housework or were taught to do it, it was a grueling job. And you just did it to get the job done, and you tried to get through it as best you can so you could go do something else. But these people, like Emily Barnes and Terry Willits, they make housekeeping so they add the creativity and the beauty to it so that it's not so bad. After you get finished cleaning something, you add a little finishing touch, or you clean it in such a way that it's beautiful. And one thing that you could do is go to work temporarily, like for a day, for a cleaning company that would train you how to clean, commercially. They create cleaning people to come into your home, and how they do it and what they do. And sometimes you can get it online for free. You can go to videos and watch, tips from professional cleaning ladies. And it makes it just more interesting to put top-level excellence into what you do at home. And it should be better. It should be better than the commercial world. And one thing that I do to keep my home nice is I don't add any. I know if you're working for cleaning companies, you're going to have to use their products. I don't use any products. I only use the vinegar, and you can add a drop of lavender or anything else that you have in that. And people worry about the smell. It goes away. Not everything's it's not going to smell like that a long way. It evaporates. And you can use that for so many different things. And that way your house is kept fresh smelling, and you don't have that perfumey smell of dryer sheets and Febreze and these sprays and candles and things that they put on everything. You can still enjoy natural things. And like I said, that Willow and Sage magazine, you just get one copy of it and just or get one for each season. You don't have to have you don't have to have a subscription and keep it coming in. Just get one for each season, keep it in your bookshelf, and learn to make things for your home that come from natural ingredients. So I wanted to read something. To you that she had in here. She says, observation is one of the best ways to train your eyes and learn what pleases you most. Now this was written, I believe, back in the 70s or 80s. And she suggests you tour model homes in newly developed neighborhoods, wander through furniture showrooms, and visit decorator show houses, and go on home tours. And take your camera and a notebook documenting anything you love. A lot of times they wouldn't let you, they didn't want you to take pictures. But I'm glad we don't have to do that anymore. We can get online and see videos, and we can buy books and things that give you some ideas. It is nice to walk through a one of those neighborhoods where the houses are up for sale now, the model home. They'll have one home that they keep for people to walk through to see if they want to buy in that neighborhood. And it is nice. You do get an atmosphere feeling that you wouldn't get from a book or from a video, but they're not as prominent now. They're not as prevalent, and so the model homes are very hard to find. And the furniture showrooms used to be created in rooms. So you'd walk into this huge floor where they would have a living room, or they would have a little dining room, and so such a delight to walk through and see how they did that and come home with new ideas. And I like it that she suggested that. I wouldn't say you had to do it, but the idea, the principle of it, is to keep alert to ideas. And speaking of ideas, remember I told you about this old magazine somebody gave me? I believe it was probably a sample magazine. It had a lot of ads in it, but it was called Country Living, and it was a sample. And the theme of it was the art of slowing down. And I'm trying to find a date when this one was published, because it had such a good ideas in it. It seemed almost a waste to put all these good ideas on really nice paper, bad paper. It didn't have very good paper. I was trying to see what the date was when this was published, because it didn't really have it in here, but it was spring or summer. And this was they had a little field guide place here, and it says turn this scene into a room. Well, when you're out going for walks and you see something like this, like roses over a gate or something like that, or what is it, that beautiful trumpet flower some people have growing on their fence, you think of the colors and the effect that it has on you, and you translate it into a room. And then they would show on the next page, how to get a pillow, glassware, and anything else that would kind of imitate that feeling. And you could often go to the dollar stores and the reject stores and just get very, very inexpensive things. But this one had all kinds of ideas, and the paper is so cheap, and so I'm thinking it might have been from the, I don't know what date, but it's May 2021. So I'll get a picture of that and see where you can get one for yourself. May 2021. It's too bad that the paper is not high quality, but you can always take these apart and put them in plastic sleeves. There's hope there. Now, I wanted to teach you how to read a magazine at home with your girls or with your friend. Sometimes I would get two of a magazine that I liked, and Victoria was one of my favorites. And I want to read to you something a friend of mine wrote to me. I'll have to ask her permission afterwards, because I did not she talked about the last video I did showing this Anna Green Gables issue of the Victoria, and I was so proud of them. I'm going to write to them and say congratulations. You got me interested again. So she says here in this email she wrote to me, I was a teenager in the 1990s. She says, the issue you showed on your blog reminded me a lot of the early 1990s. I was a teenager then and absolutely in love with Anne of Green Gables and everything country style or old-fashioned. I remember when I was about 14, I went to a friend's house, and her mother, who had a lovely feminine decorating style, had a stack of Victoria magazines in her family room, sitting on an old wooden chest with a little lace table runner over it. I thought the magazines were just about the most beautiful thing ever, and her house was the prettiest one ever. The house and those magazines really stuck in my mind and are probably inspiring me to this day, since I grew up in a house that was very plain in a modern style, but I did decorate my bedroom in Laura Ashley wallpaper, which my parents bought for me in an unusual amount of generosity. I wish I could go back and see if that wallpaper is still there. It was so pretty. You could get Laura Ashley catalogs still online where she sold the wallpaper with matching coordinating fabric. And there's one that I'm looking for, the first one that ever came out that I've never been able to find. And it's interesting that Laura Ashley, Victoria, and home interiors and other things all kind of came out in the same era, and really were reinforcing the home, the feminine dress, and this relaxing time at home. It's just really interesting. It's time to go back and do it, and it can close the gap between the era that you love and the era that you're living in. Close it just by going ahead and doing it. But I wanted to show you how to read this. If you have your girls at home, or even if you have another copy, and I've done this with friends before. I said, let's turn the page. Now I've done it to we've done it to our friends over the phone, or my daughter over the phone. She would get one in the mail and I would get one in the mail. So we would, let's turn to the front page and let's have a look at the ad for a trip to I don't know, Spain, it looks like. I've never been to Spain, but I've been to Oregon. So then we would discuss that. We would look at the details of that, and we would discuss it, and maybe we would go look a little further on the web to find out more about it. And then we would read, one of us would read this page over the phone, or sitting next to a daughter or granddaughter. I would read the table of contents, the first one, and she'd read the second one, I'd read the third one. And so we would discuss the table of contents before we even got there. And then we would discuss the picture and how might you sketch that and turn it into a painting. Well, kids, were you ever taught how to use your window as a light box? In the olden days, we would take something like this, and we would put it up against a window. We'd tape it on a window. It'd be like from a greeting card or from a picture from a book that we weren't allowed to tear out. We'd tape it up on a window, and then we put a piece of thin paper over it, or tracing paper, and we would trace it. That was our light box. Do you remember that? See, we need to learn, we need to learn our kids. My mother always said, I'm going to learn you something today, but there's no rules. We need to learn and keep in mind how to bear under hard times. And that they started to create these light boxes that you could get, but I was never really interested in them. And there were on the web when it first came out, there was all kinds of instructions to make your own, but it was just too involved, and I didn't have time to do it and construct it. But you can make your own light box from a window, and you can trace things. And like I said, instead of having papers and stuff all over, have each person in your family, young or old, have a binder or a notebook or some kind of a box to keep all these papers in if they're going to do things from papers. And of course, you know, the first thing I do when I get a Victoria is go to where the biggest bouquet is. I like to see what they're doing with flowers and just different things. And then this little advertisement. See, the advertisements are in keeping with this theme of this magazine, which is beauty and refinement, which I'm happy about. And what I liked about that is it reminded me of, in the movie Wives and Daughters, of her, Molly, as a 17-year-old, sitting in this oval window seat, you know, looking outside from, I guess she was up in the barn or something. I always thought the whole thing was very, very beautiful. And so that's how we would do it. And then we would take turns, and we'd both be sitting close together, my daughter and I, looking at a magazine, and I would show her how to read a magazine, how to discern it, how to enjoy it. Just like when you're having tea and homemade treats, you wouldn't scarf everything down and then chug-a-lug your tea down because you wouldn't enjoy it as much. So we would just slowly go through things, and we would dwell on the picture or on the story. There's one here about postcards, and from there I would go and say, let's make a homemade postcard. We'd cut a piece of cardstock and try to show what an old-fashioned postcard looked like, and the arrangements, how to imitate an arrangement in your own home. Years ago, there were books called the Art Literature Readers, and there were 3 of them, and they were for children, and they combined literature and art together. The stories would have a coordinating old art piece there, but it's all in black and white. And they encouraged in the teacher's edition at the back of one of them to have the children imitate what was in the painting. And the painting would be a child sitting and reading a book, or the painting would be a child, in the old-fashioned days they had these hoops, and you'd get a stick and you'd roll the hoop. And then the paintings would be sitting on a swing or something like that. And it would encourage kids. They were so wholesome because everything is an influence that goes into your mind, and they helped all of us, even us who are of vital years, to enjoy every moment and to see a purpose in homeschool. Now, homeschool, some of the older people that were homeschooling back in the 1970s kind of lost their way after the children were gone, because they were only doing it to get through the school years, to get through the curriculum, to get through the education. But I've often said it is not home education, it's home schooling. It's homeschooling. It's about the home, and it continues, and it's about life. It's life education. And so you don't just give up and say, well, now that kids are gone, I got all these books, I don't know what to do with them. You can, if they were good books and they were interesting to you, you can go through them again. You can also gain more interest in life by reading, getting new things, getting new books, whatever. Now, here's another book I have already talked about, and it was Stepping Heavenward by Elizabeth Prentice. And one of these comes from Lamplighter. Lamplighter's books are absolutely wonderful to hold. They just make you feel so elevated, so dignified. And sometimes I'll go for a walk down. I don't have any obstacles to worry about, so I go down one of these little side roads, the farm roads, you know, and I can read while I'm walking, and it just feels so like it transports into the past, into the Victorian era. And what I did with these is that I got this lovely hardback copy from the Lamplighter collection, and then there are people that print these in a softer cover or in a different format. And so I got a couple of the extra ones, and that way one of the grandchildren could have one at home. I could have one here, and we could read a page together, taking turns with the paragraphs, and we could read it together and discuss it. That way we read it slowly. We all have seen these people that you can give them a nice book, and it just won't have a bit of effect on them, because all they did was intellectually read it, and it didn't touch their soul. It did not touch their heart. And so that's why we want to teach them how. Let's sit down, let's respectfully read this, and teach them how to appreciate and read and understand. And when you have the understanding, when you get understanding, then life becomes more purposeful and enriched. And so when you read something like Stepping Heavenward, and you've got several copies, you can sit in a room and take turns reading. Now, for us, we always had one copy when everyone was growing up. So one of us would read the first paragraph and then pass it to the second person. And we had lots of old books, but we'd just pass it to the second person. When we decided to make a play out of it, we didn't bother even retyping anything or making cue cards for anybody. We just said, you're going to be this person, and you're going to be this person, and then we would pass the book around. And when the conversation part came, they would take part in the conversation, and we would practice putting on a play at home, and that's what we did. And we did plays from the Bible. We did Paul's shipwreck in the New Testament, and we did David and Goliath. We did several others, and we would just pass a Bible around, or people would just get out their Bibles. We'd use that as our script. We wouldn't type up anything. And we would ask who wanted to be who wanted to be what. And then just read it from there, so that it's not so much work for anyone. And then they had to make their own props and their own costumes, and they could do anything that they wanted. They could use brown paper or anything for anything that they wanted. Okay, so let me see what else is going on here today. I wanted to read out of, I haven't read out of Brian Kozlowski's book, The Jane Austen Diet. It's a Jane Austen lifestyle book is what it is, but I'm becoming more and more developing a sisterhood with her. I'm becoming more and more in alignment with ways that she believed and what that era practiced. I'm so fascinated with it. And we were outside the other day, Mr. S and I, talking about some of the trees that had just sprung up out of the ground, and we decided we're just going to keep them, let them grow, and we'll have a little forest there. There's a little grove of trees and a little forest there. And I was reading in this book, The Jane Austen Diet, about the copse, C-O-P-S-E. And I liked this because previously he had written a chapter about how when the Austens had, or anybody of that era, had any kind of social activity or social contact, that after that they had to go to their room and they wanted to be quiet. And they'd say things like, I'll take tea in my room. I love that. See, because I don't believe they always had dinner at a big long table, and I think sometimes people just ate by themselves sitting outside, and it was more casual than we think. Anyway, so he has a chapter here called To the Copse, which meant forest, I believe. Regency estates weren't complete without copses. He's really done his history well. Woodland retreats where heroines idly roam and find near magical refreshment among the trees. A wooded grove brings instant comfort to Anne's cluttered mind in Persuasion, and Lizzie finds inexpressible enjoyment under the tree-lined path bordering the Rosings estate. Marianne waxes poetic when remembering her autumnal walks in Norland's woods. How have I delighted as I walked! What feelings have they, the season, the air altogether inspired? Interestingly, the same sensations are now associated with one of the biggest health trends in modern Japan, forest bathing. It is the belief that a leisurely stroll through the woods is deeply rejuvenating for the body and mind. Forest air is particularly rich in fragrant antimicrobial compounds swirling around trees that, when inhaled, can reduce stress and boost our immune system. Spending time among trees specifically elevates our white blood cells that fight tumors and infections, according to a Japanese study, and most of us have a Regency-style copse in an easy distance, whether it's a wooded park or the backwoods or just in our own backyards. There, like Fanny, we can substitute the bad air, bad smells of indoor life for liberty, freshness, fragrance, etc. And he has quite an explanation of this. And it reminds me that I don't know if people have just been living in apartments or cities too long, but I've noticed people are afraid of trees. And when they come to see me, we'll be sitting out in the yard, and we've got these huge maple trees, and somebody will say something, I think maybe you need to cut those trees down. And they're just not used to having trees and don't understand them. But these have been here over 50 years. And I just noticed that people become very uncomfortable if they're not in their citified sidewalks, concrete stuff, and it takes a while when they move to the country to really, really appreciate it. So I want to read what he said also about, and this is a good book, this is good for the home, because it goes through what they ate, how they walked 20 minutes before breakfast. They went outside and went for a walk 20 minutes before breakfast. And how late they ate. They only ate, their last meal was probably about 4 o'clock. They started to wind down and get ready to go to bed, and they went to bed, with the birds. And it goes through what their activities were and their meal plans and their body balance, their body basics, and how, the fresh air, the exercise, and also many other aspects. And walking was a favorite. Now, walking is so interesting because so many things happened in the Jane Austen books during walks, and even in Wives and Daughters, Molly encounters several things when she's out going for a walk, and many of these books depict an outdoor scene, several outdoor scenes with these people, with these main characters. So I encourage you to get this and read it, and if you are one of my students and I'm homeschooling you, I will encourage you to read page 198, 199, and dwell on that for a little while. If you were in my school at Ashcan, I wouldn't load you down with too much reading material. I would only give you a paragraph at a time, and you'd have to ponder it. You'd have to sift it through your mind. You'd have to look at all aspects of it. You'd have to look up words. You'd have to read it aloud. You might even have to make up an illustration to go with it. And there'd be just many different ways of learning and understanding these things and increasing the benefits to you in life. Well, ladies, I hope that this has been helpful to you. I'm sorry it's not quite an hour like it has been in the past, but I hope that you'll get up and get dressed up, put a bow in your hair if you can, a ribbon in your hair, and be happy today. Do a few exercises, find something, make a list for yourself to create a routine for yourself so that you don't get anxious. And I'm far enough away from, the commercial district that I have to find something to do around here. And I will talk to you more about that some other time, what I did with my children when we lived far away from everything and how we kept ourselves enthused about life and stimulated mentally, and we're happy. So I hope that you will stay close to Christ and that all will be well with you, and that you will keep doing what you're doing and don't give up on it, and learn to do things without expecting. Now, whether you're young or old, if you're a teenager, whatever, don't ask, what am I supposed to do all day? And don't ask, well, don't say no one's going to notice me. No one's going to notice this nice thing I did in the house. Don't ask that, because you're going to have one of the tests of character, good character, is to do things without expecting any praise, without expecting any thanks, without expecting that someone will notice, and without thinking about that, but just to do your best, to put yourself into it, to be your creative best. And it's very good for you, and it strengthens you. And the other thing is that you should never have to ask at any age. If you're a homemaker, you should never have to ask, well, what am I supposed to do all day now? I could ask you a dozen questions, and then you would find out, are all your kitchen drawers clean and in order? Are all your papers in order? Have you been through your bookshelf lately and got everything in order? Or if you are a creative person and you have crafts and things, is that all in order? Are your floors clean? Are the cobwebs cleaned? Have you practiced anything that you used to do in the past? Your sewing, your music, your art, your literature. Have you practiced any of that? Have you written letters lately? Have you shown hospitality lately? What about your mode of dress? Have you been through your closet and straightened out everything and set out clothes to wear during the week that are pretty? And have you had your tea time? And all these things. I did tell you a story one time about a lady who had gotten sick one winter and realized that she was going to have, no one was going to help her, and she had to kind of get well and get started herself. I'll tell you more about that some other time. In the meantime, stay close to Christ, and I'll talk to you later.